Good evening. It's Thursday, January 28th, and I'm Virginia Amos. And every couple of weeks, we get to talk to the people, the businesses, and the organizations that make Delray and Alexandria such a great place to live. Tonight, I am delighted to have a Delray resident, Erin White, with us. You may know Erin better by her company name, and that is Mindys Catering. Mindy, look at that, Erin,
Everybody does
welcome.
that.
We are
Thank you
we
so
are
much. Thank
delighted
you.
to have you with us.
I'm
So,
so glad to be here.
thank you. So, let's just get this question out of the way. How did Erin White get Mindy's Catering?
Sure. So the original owner of Mindy's Catering was Mindy
Okay.
herself. She and her husband owned the business, and I worked for them, and then they decided that they wanted to retire, and they sold the company to me and to our chef at the time, who's no longer involved. He was my business partner, and my husband came on board as well, and we've owned it since 2000. But we kept the name. There was already a brand. So now Mindy is the lobster, our mascot that you see on the side of our truck. So that's Mindy.
Okay, I am having difficulty with sound, David. Uh,
Okay, what is problem are you having?
I can't hear Erin. She's going in and out.
Can you hear me now?
No.
You cannot?
Can you, Erin, can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Can you hear me
Okay.
now?
Okay, there we are. It was going in and out for some reason.
Too bad.
Well,
It was a great story, Virginia.
well, as long as everybody else heard it, that's okay. That's okay. I'll have to tell our audience that right before we came on air, Erin and I discovered that we have a mutual history and background in Savannah, Georgia, which isn't something I find too often, but it was really fun to make that connection with you. So I have to say, I until the pandemic had not been aware of Mindy's Catering, and interestingly, you came to my screen by what else? The neighborhood listserv, which is where you find all good things in the area. And somebody happened to mention that they had gotten dinner from you, and I think they included the link. And we clicked and we tried it, and we were just delighted. It was kind of a different way to do things. And I know for you, being in the events business, it was a big departure from what you had normally been doing. So I know that other people in the events business have not been successful, and that includes my daughter and her family in California. So, how has moving towards individuals worked for you?
So I think maybe there's two aspects of it that are interesting. The first is that we started to think, okay, instead of catering for 20 and 50 and 100 and 150, can we do the same thing on a smaller scale and still make it economically feasible? And I think one of our advantages was the knowledge that we know how to transport food somewhere and reheat it and serve it because
Mm,
that's what caterers do. We don't send hot
yeah,
food to parties. Generally, we're sending
yeah.
food to a party and on site chefs are warming it up. So in this case, the homeowner becomes the on site chef. We package the food in a way that it's easy for you to heat and serve. So I think, restaurants were making a big transition to more takeout. Some of
Hmm.
them were already used to doing some takeout, but suddenly they're doing a ton of takeout, and you're hearing people say, "Oh, I got my food, but it really wasn't that fresh. It wasn't hot still. It wasn't this." And we're able to kind of skip that by giving you food that you reheat yourself and serve fresh, just like you were at one of our events.
Well, I must admit, when we did our first order, I was really delighted that there were warming instructions for each one of the things that we got. So we knew exactly what to do with it. And you're right, that makes so much sense because in transport, it just loses something.
And I think, we are, as caterers, necessarily our portion sizes. The rule of thumb in catering is a 10% overage. So when we're delivering you food for your dinner, that's even the same as if we were doing a big event. So we know people might not eat everything on one day. So if you get, chicken and then you get a pasta, maybe you don't want to eat the mac and cheese until the next day. So it holds really well too, which is kind of nice. So it's a little bit of the gift that keeps giving with our meals.
Well, I will vouch for your proportions. They are generous, and I always count on having another meal from the things that are left. And you also do what I call like soup to nuts. You do appetizers, you do bread, you do the entrees, and you do dessert. So it's really getting the full package, which you might not ordinarily do if you were ordering a la carte.
Right, and the desserts are included in the dinners,
Right.
and it's not a massive dessert. It's not like a, chocolate mousse cake. It's a cookie or a bar or
Right.
something like that. With the restaurant, you might not necessarily order dessert, but this way you always get a sweet included. And we have found, I mean, we were totally new to doing this kind of thing. One of the things that's interesting is that people get favorites. And when that
Mhm.
comes around again, because we change the menu every week, they say, oh my gosh, it's the week with the cherry brownies. I have to order. So that's a little bit of a pull as well.
That's another point. You certainly change up the menu and the choices you have. I'm pretty much of a non meat eater. And so I pull it up, and there's always something on there that I can find that doesn't include meat and actually makes my husband happy. So
Yeah, it's
that's been a real bonus.
And you know what I think is so funny? I don't cook for the business. I do all the planning, but I do love to cook. I'm an avid home cook, and I think fish is one of the easiest things in the world to cook because it's quick, because it
Hmm.
doesn't need a lot done to it. But I think people are extremely intimidated by fish, and overwhelmingly, our fish options have been so popular. We do, cod, salmon, halibut, we've done rockfish, we've done catfish, and people just love getting the fish because I don't think it's something they cook a lot at home. And I always kind of, try to put a plug in for you can make this at home so easily.
That's a good point. I do think that people are intimidated by fish, and so not having to do it themselves is, you know, that's a bonus.
And it's healthy. I mean, I think just since January 1, I've noticed more people trying to order the healthier, low fat items on our menu, a roasted green bean and a fish. And we've had more people say, don't send me the bread than any other time.
Oh, I always get it regardless, even if I stick it in the freezer to save for, down the road and for my husband. I get it. So we have a couple of pictures. You were kind enough to send us some things of some of your wonderful entrees. David, do you want to pull a couple of those
You want
up?
me to just kind of go through them and
Okay,
talk
sure.
about them?
Sure, and I can comment. I mean,
Okay.
generally, like you said, we change the menu up every week. We always have a meat, a fish, a chicken, and some kind of seafood, and then a vegetarian. This is baked Mediterranean cod, which actually I'm
Ooh.
pretty sure I'm putting on next week's menu. Um, and we serve it with a cilantro herb sauce on the side. And you warm it up with those pieces of lemon with it, so that that lemon juice kind of gets into it too. It's delicious.
Oh, that looks
I think
good.
it's something they cook a lot at home. So this is one of my favorite things is when my friends and clients send me pictures. So this is someone got their meal at their home, unpacked it, and kind of put it out to take a picture of it.
Oh,
So it's the whole everything that came in their bag for four people.
generous. So we've got what, mac and cheese and
Yeah, there's a soup there, a veggie.
oh,
Oh, this is shrimp
pasta.
fettuccine.
Oh, lovely.
And we also do this with scallops, and we also do a vegetarian version. So again, it's one of those things I found that's been popular, so I've tried it a few different ways. One week we offer it with shrimp, a few weeks later we might offer it with scallops, and then we do the vegetarian that's usually with asparagus, which is great with fettuccine.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is our shepherd's pie.
Oh,
This is the kind of thing I think people should order because things like shepherd's pie and beef bourguignon are time consuming to make at home. And if
hmm.
somebody else can make it for you, that's great. My husband is from Ireland originally and came to Alexandria in like 1988. So there are always a few nods to things like that. And we've been making shepherd's pie at our catering company for years, and I decided we could do little mini versions of it. That's really popular.
That's smart. Yeah.
So
And
every
good
week we have
salads.
Yes, every week we have two salad options. Usually something on a crunchy green and something on a spinachy type green, and we change it up every week. And that's the only thing that I would say doesn't hold for 3 or 4 days. Most things
Yeah.
hold for many days. Those you want to eat in the first couple of days. This is just a picture of some of our side salad options. So we usually have a couple of cold sides that could just keep and you could eat for lunches. This is Mexican corn salad, a green herbed rice salad, tomato mozzarella, and sesame vegetable salad. And this is another one I do. I love, love, love when people send me pictures of their food. So this person plated up our sesame garlic broccoli and potatoes au gratin and beef bourguignon and a couple slices of baguette and sent me a picture. And I love that.
I can see
That's
why.
our mac and cheese. The mac and cheese is probably the number one best selling item on every menu. Anytime I do it, I have a couple of people who order a couple of extras and put them in their freezer. It's very good. It's made with cheddar and Gruyere, and it's just super popular.
Oh, wonderful.
And these are our pork carnitas enchiladas. We just slow cook pork and roast some vegetables and make little flour tortilla enchiladas out of them. And they're so good. That's one of my favorites. And this is chicken cordon bleu. So that's
Nice.
another one I think who's going to make that at home. It's a lot of
Ex-
work and pounding out and doing all of that. Those
Exactly.
are delicious.
Exactly.
And we serve that with a Dijon brandy sauce on the side. So you just heat the sauce up in like the microwave and then drizzle it over once your chicken's warm.
Okay, this is the last one.
Oh, okay. This is the
And
last
this
one. Yeah.
this is how your meal comes. So you get this shopping bag that has everything in it. And on the top, you can see the baguette and a little brown bag that has the little desserts in it and the sheet of reheating instructions. So this is the bag that appears on your door when you order.
It is, and it is so nice to open that door and have that bag sitting there. But now let me ask you something, because when I first ordered from you, and your catering kitchen, your professional kitchen is actually in the district. Is that correct?
Correct.
I
We're
had
in the
no
Palisades.
Yeah, I had no idea you lived in Delray. I thought I was ordering from a catering company that was in the district, but somehow people had just become acquainted with it. And I think I read somewhere that you said that that once people realized that once it kind of got out on like the Delray listserv and some of the other listservs, that business really kind of picked up because they realized that they were ordering from somebody local.
Yeah, definitely. We were completely closed for a month and a half,
Hmm.
almost 2 months when the pandemic started, and we came up with this idea to reopen and do these meals. And my initial reaction was, well, we're in DC in a neighborhood that has a lot of people. Let's just start promoting it here. And to my husband's credit, he said, tell all our friends in Alexandria too. So of course, many of them know that we own a catering company, but they wouldn't necessarily have a reason to use a caterer on a regular basis
Right.
pre-pandemic. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I kind of put a Facebook post up, oh, we're going to start doing this. And it just took off like gangbusters. And suddenly people are telling their neighbors, they're telling their friends, I've had so many people contact me and say, well, will you deliver to Arlington? Will you deliver to McLean? Will you deliver down the Parkway to Bellhaven? And of course, our answer is yes, 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 because we want the business. But it's really been a lot of community support. The listservs have been just crucial to spreading the word. And like I think I said this to you too, we live on Commonwealth Avenue. So we've started parking the van out there some nights when my husband, brings food, delivers it to a bunch of Delray people, parks it. And a few people have written to me and said, I've seen this van. Is that your company? So that's been a little bit of promotion too.
Yeah, it's great, and I think you're also listed on the Alexandria Curbside Dining
Yes.
website. So you're not exactly curbside, but we'll take you gladly and keep you.
Wow, what an amazing site that has been for
Yeah.
every food business in Alexandria. It is just, it's overwhelming to see how many people have supported the hospitality industry in this city compared to other areas. It's really phenomenal.
It is, and I think in turn that the restaurants have tried to be absolutely as responsive and as they can be. I think it's been harder for some than others. I certainly think, have been uniquely positioned in that this is what you did anyway, and so you understood the balance of how you delivered something, which I think it's really that's important because it's always been the thing about do you get it delivered or do you pick up and what's going to last till you get home and how far do you have to go. So
Absolutely. It's not an easy thing to figure all of that out.
no, it's not. But I think you've done a terrific job. And I will say for the other thing for people who have not ordered from you is if you get on the mailing list and you get a new menu every week, and Erin makes options available so that you can order like an extra appetizer or say an appetizer instead of a vegetable, which is really nice because it's just getting to choose.
Right. Flexibility. I had someone today who came to pick up and she picked up an entree and then instead of a starter and two sides, she got 3 quarts of our butternut squash soup because she loves it so much. So she packed it into home. And I have to say one thing before I forget, in terms of the business being in DC. The interesting thing about the way that catering works is that sales tax is based on the point of the exchange of goods.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you're in Alexandria and you're ordering from us, it's Alexandria sales tax. So you're still supporting the Alexandria tax base. If you're in DC and we deliver to you, we pay DC sales tax in Fairfax. So it has been something that I like to promote because I think sometimes people do want to support local and you're still supporting very local.
That's really good to know. I know next month we're going to be talking about what has happened with the tax base in Alexandria because of this, and so it's good to know that our money is being brought back into the city. Now, I know we were talking just because of a friend of mine's daughter who's in bed right now, unfortunately, but she's very fond of your food, and she had leftovers from a fundraiser you did at for the PTA at George Washington, and you said that you were available for fundraisers. So tell us a little bit more about how that works.
Sure, that worked great. We just did it this week, and we've done it for a couple of school in DC as well. We propose a menu, a family meal, usually for four, and everyone gets to pick their own entree, but the kind of sides and salad are set. And we do it for a discounted price, and we give back 10% to the organization. So we just did it for George Washington Middle School here in Alexandria, and we had about 50 orders. So for us, it's a win-win. We're giving back to an organization that we support, and we're spreading the word a little bit more about our services and hopefully picking up a few more new clients.
Great. And so any nonprofit basically could call, well,
I'm
anybody could call you.
Yep, I'm happy to work with anyone. We're doing the meal deliveries on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's a funny kind of thing in small business these days. Paying staff overtime for weekends is difficult. So we kind of kept it on weekdays, which means that we have other days free to do these fundraisers. So this was on a Tuesday. We'd usually want it to be on one of our kind of off days.
Have you by any chance had to hire extra people for deliveries?
We have generally in catering, we have a lot of independent. Now everybody
That's
knows
true.
the phrase gig workers. So we have independent contractors who are not busy right now. We have a few that are very trustworthy that we've asked to help us out on a piece by piece basis. But generally, like so many restaurants, we have just jumped all the way in. We were between a bookkeeper when the pandemic happened, which actually turned out great. We didn't have to hire another employee. So my husband is doing most of the deliveries. I'm doing all the bookkeeping. We're, down a couple of staff just because we were in our slow season when this happened and we don't want to hire more. So
Okay.
we're jack of all trades business people right now, but occasionally we do need a little bit of help. And we're
I
hoping in the next few months we'll need even more because it'll start to get a little busier.
Oh, good, good. Did you tell me your husband had worked at Pat Troy's?
Yeah, actually that's
Yeah.
where we met.
Oh, okay.
So many, many years ago, he was a bartender at the original Ireland's Own, and I worked part time as a waitress, and that's where we met.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
lots of Alexandria history.
Yes, yes. No, oh, and the other thing that you're doing is you are giving back to a food bank, which I know is really essential in helping Alexandria residents.
Sure. So that was the other thing. When we spent this almost 2 months trying to say, how can we reopen and what can we do? It was really important to us to have some aspect of charitable contribution within that. And we're members at Grace Church Russell Road, and there's a very active food bank there that has since the pandemic started, sort of quadrupled in the need.
Hmm.
They serve almost primarily the Alexandria Arlandria community, and they're associated with the Capital Area Food Bank. But again, in the beginning of the pandemic, when the supply lines were so short, the Capital Area Food Bank wasn't really getting
Right.
what they had in the past to deliver. So in the beginning, we allowed people to add $12 to any invoice, and we used that money to shop for the food bank. So my husband went to Restaurant Depot and loaded up on produce and beans and masa and all the things they needed. And then the Capital Area Food Bank has come back with their supply lines, but they still need a lot of money to purchase all the supplies. So now we just pass on the charitable contribution. So since May, we've raised over $7,500 in donations to the Grace Food Pantry, and
Oh,
we're still going.
that's wonderful. You know, I had a kind of a similar conversation with Bill Blackburn of Pork
Pork
Barrel
barrel, yeah.
Barbecue. And it's also along the lines of what Jose Andres talks about, that the way our food channels and food supplies have worked for so long doesn't work anymore. And there's so much waste, and there's so many people that are going hungry, really for no reason. And I think, if nothing else, that this time of understanding and having to look at things differently has really brought that to the forefront. That,
Absolutely. And I
yeah.
think the other side of that is that so many people who work in the hospitality industry are on the low income spectrum. I mean,
Hmm.
we generally in this industry have a lot of people working for us. I mean, when this whole thing started, Cheese Teak started doing those wonderful donation meals. If you were a restaurant worker laid
Yeah.
off, you could just walk up and get a meal. I mean, that is what Delray means to me, that
Hmm.
community support and the way everybody jumps in to help, even though our businesses are also suffering, reaching out and trying to help people is just, it's a phenomenal.
It is. It is. And I really hope that as we move back into, some sense of being able to go out and get a meal, that people will continue to understand that not everybody can do that, and that people need help. And there are lots of different ways that we can reconfigure that system to make it possible so that people
Absolutely.
can
It's a
be
it's a
fed.
wake up call about the supply chains and
It is. It
food needs.
is. And, even how long it takes to get a chicken to market versus getting a pig or a cow, and, the vegetable production, the whole thing. It's all tied together. And I don't think many of us had really thought a whole lot about that, unless that was our field, before it happened.
Right.
So, thank you so much. We're kind of coming to the end of our time together. But are you starting to see a little bit of a turnaround with bookings? Are people
Sure, just a
starting to
little. Yeah,
plan?
just a little. We have had a few inquiries for smaller weddings this coming summer, which we
Hmm.
did a few of these micro weddings in the fall. Same thing in the summer, and then I've had a couple of inquiries for the fall that are on a bigger scale because everybody's very hopeful that we'll be open up and be able to be in person and have real parties again. And I think it will help just for the weather to get warmer because the
Yeah.
things that we did do in the fall we could do because
You,
people could have an outdoor party for
yeah.
10, but right now they just can't. So
No,
we're looking to
especially not tonight. It is so cold out there.
it's
Oh my
freezing.
goodness. It's freezing. It's freezing. Well, I am delighted to hear that that people are thinking ahead and they're calling. In the meantime, if you want to order dinner from Erin, and biggest mistake this week. I did not order for tonight, so I have to cook when I go home. Um, you want to get in touch with Mindy's Catering, and you get on their mailing list. And every Monday, you will get the menu for the week, and you have a couple days to order. It's as simple as it can be. The food is absolutely delicious, as everybody will attest to, and you won't go hungry.
Thank you so much,
I
Virginia.
can
That means the
promise you
world
that.
to us.
Well, I'm delighted. And listen, I'm going to call you offline and we're going to get together and we're going to talk about Savannah.
I know.
And,
We'll have to have a low country boil party.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Mary Wadlin, do you hear that? You're going to come over for that. All right. Thank you so much. Please tell your
Thank
husband
you.
hello. We're sorry he could not be with us tonight, but I know he's out working and that's important.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm not sure who's going to be with us, but it will be somebody interesting and somebody who contributes to our life here in Alexandria. So until then, this is Virginia Amos, and please be the good news in someone's life.
So, Erin, I